Saturday the 20th of August, I believe it was. Randwick, the rail was in a 3 metre position, and it looked to be sort of 3, 4, 5 off in the rail, and the straight was the best place to be. Hard fence looked a bit smelly. Not as bad as it possibly can be sometimes there at Randwick, but it was still not the ideal spot. And some exciting racing for the first time in a long time, and keen to go through it. So the first race of the day was the 1400 metre benchmark 83. They've gone out, relatively slow to the 600 metre mark and really ripped home, and that played into the hands of Super Tycoon, who can really finish its races off well. Pindan Pearl missed the kick badly, so complete forget and forgive effort, and the rest of them, kind of ran okay. Probably Torgenson was the one that was most affected by the slow pace. Watch the start. Pindan Pearl goes up with the gates, completely out of play. Nothing really happens here until the straight. Schofield again sticks hard fence, which is, as it turned out, was definitely the clear worst part of the track for that day. And the horse still pulls away and is extra strong on the line again, so that's 4 in a row now, I believe, for Super Tycoon, all in similar fashion of just really strong through the line. You just look at him, he doesn't look like he's hard to pull up. He's actually pulling late. It's just incredible how well McFarlane's got this horse going. Well related character, but still for him to be going as well as he is this prep compared to others is a credit to him and his stable. Torgenson was okay, held up in behind them. That's about as good as Perapera goes, and the pace has shown that all these horses kind of held their position, so it was a really slow pace, and it was probably the one affected the most, with Pindan Pearl. Not a bad effort to finish that close after what she did. So not a race you're going to learn a lot about, because Pindan Pearl takes a bit of the merit out of the race, and the speed also affected a few runners, but it's hard to argue that anything's as strong on the line as Super Tycoon, so he was probably as affected by the slow speed as anyone. So a bit of a nothing race to start the day, but a good effort by Super Tycoon. Race 2 over the 2400, and they were always going to go hard here and make it a strong test. That probably hurt Richard of York more than I probably gave it credit for personally before the start of the race. I didn't have it quite as short as the 260 that it started, but I definitely had it right in the race, and in the way it was sort of run. The two horses that were backing up off the 2 mile runs, 3,200 metres last start, with the Quinella, so it really was a battle of attrition. Unfortunately, the heavily backed elusive runners really not going that well, and the others that were trip queries, especially Shelley's Girl, showed up as well. So a tough effort by Paragon. Not going to spend too much time on this race, but it sat outside the leader, so did the most work in the race. Hits the front nice and early, and then holds off Dowson and Charlie late. He's had the much softer run in the race and just ground away. I wouldn't sack anything from this race, but the last couple maybe a struggle over this trip. But Richard of York, his first try at the distance, and it was a genuine test, so I wouldn't sack him off that effort. First 4 are going okay, very similar in ability, and would finish in similar style, I'd imagine, if they kept going around against each other. Race 3, the Highway, and it was a very average looking field, or very limited looking field on paper, and it kind of turned out that way with bunch margins and interference causing the result more than anything really. They go out really slow, and we'll see some bad interference early. I don't know what it is with these highways where they just refuse to put any speed on. You'll see the huge clump of runners here, but no one really wanting to assert any authority. Christian Reith gets suspended for what he does here, coming across and causing some bad interference for the horses behind. You'll see the maiden galloper knocked out of the race basically here early. High Tech also gets knocked out of the race here, and eventually comes back in and gets knocked over again. Wasn't really an apprentice's horse for mine, but going well enough to feature in a race like this. Another runner getting knocked over back in the field. It was just a race of chop and change. The horse that I want to target a little bit here that I thought should have won the race is this horse called Squid and Squiz. It just gets pulling the whole way. You can see here it racing fiercely. Does that throughout and finds some dead ends. This horse, Star Bid, which was the maiden galloper, who was the horse that got completely knocked out of the race at the start after looking like it was going to settle in the first 3 or 4, makes it a run around them, and plenty of merit in his run, going back to a maiden for mine. I can't believe he's a maiden, to tell you the truth, off this effort. He was probably a bit stiff not to be in the finish here. He does fade, but he only gets beaten 4 to 5 lengths, and that's really acceptable after the amount of trouble he's found. This horse, Squid and Squiz, and High Tech back in here in the red colours with the black cross stripes are the two I want to have a look at in the straight. We'll watch Squid and Squiz first. He just never gets clear running, and if anyone's had a look at his previous efforts, it probably takes him 200 to 300 metres to hit his top. He's a real grinding, tough horse, and he just never got a chance to get anywhere near it there. I think he was a very clearly good thing beaten. The other horse that I want to watch is High Tech in here, is another one that got smashed at the start, and he just never finds clear running. I'd love to see him in a similar race on a firm surface over the mile on a dry track and see what he can do. I really think he's ready to win a race. But there was a host of excuses and troubles in this race, so it's not a race I'm looking to be too positive on, too many horses, but the nature of these highway races, you're always looking for horses to go back into their normal grade or back to their hometowns, and there are a number of runners here in Star Bid, so he's only beaten 3.5 lengths. It's an incredible effort, probably should have won. Squid and Squiz also had no luck at all, and should have finished much closer, and High Tech's the other one that I thought was a bit stiff in the run. So they're the three. Star Bid, obviously a maiden, can go back to maiden class and break through any time. Squid and Squiz in something similar, even a mile to 1800 metres next start, something similar class wise, he'll be hard to beat. And High Tech, same sort of deal, and he can run well again. I'd be very harsh on anything up near the front, really. The first 3 to 4, they seem to have their chance, and really the race was a race you're looking to be negative about. So if they've got to step up in grade or something similar, I'd be tough on them. Race 4 is the first 3-year-old black type race for the day, and when it was announced that Darren was going forward, it was kind of set up there that Thronham and it would control the tempo, and then the others would have to do their best to run them down. Personally, I was keen on Divine Prophet as a horse going forward, but I thought from the gate that he was going to have to give them too big a start, basically having to circle the whole field, plus some fitter runners that were up and running, like Darren, Thronham, and it was going to be too big a task, but that was proven incorrect. The pace was, not slow by any means, but suiting of the leaders, or every horse near the pace definitely had a little advantage, not a huge advantage, over the rest, and we'll see the Divine Prophets sort of 8 to 10 lengths off the lead after a few hundred metres. So for him to run these horses down, and he has had to circle the field, just no excuses for anything beaten by him. Darren ridden out of his pattern, going from 1,000 to 1,300 metres at its second start this preparation, and now ridden forward as opposed to back first up. His efforts enormous. And Thronham, who basically ran as well as he could, it's hard fit, no excuses for him either. So I'd say going forward that Thronham's the one with the least upside this preparation. Darren's got plenty of upside, and I think ridden with a little bit of a sit, he could be even better. And Divide and Profit's obviously all upside. Prized Icon with the big weights run well. I'm not sure if he'll be dominant in this prep, but he's thereabouts. Kent runs quite well for a horse sort of way up in grade and in restricted room. Chopped out late, can forgive him definitely a lot of the margin. But really and truly that strength of Divine Prophet late is incredible. He's just a nice horse. You can see him just super strong through the line. These horses up front aren't stopping, he's just running over the top of them. So Divine Prophet on points, I'd say, is a slight favourite for me going forward to a 1400 metre race, even further, a mile. Darren's obviously going to be right there in the Golden Rose, definitely not looking to sack him. If he draws a gate or finds a softish run in the first half of the field with a bit of cover, he looks like a dangerous horse. And I'm thinking that Kent can go forward, maybe not to the same grade as the rest, but can win a race, black type race over the carnival. Prized Icon will be thereabouts. I'm not sure if I'm keen to be on him at this stage, but he'll be thereabouts, and Taj Mahal's probably goes back with Kent, it's just something a little bit softer. 1200 metre fillies race, and the late scratching of Calliope basically handed this race to Ome Sword on a platter. I'm not sure if she would have got nearer the way she went anyway, but it's easy to say that now. So Ome Sword was left at an amazing $2.30. I thought she'd start sort of well into the black, maybe $1.50, $1.60. And there were some strange horses back, like Time for Roses and Manea, which they'd come out publicly and said it had a virus, and that was on top of her trialling only average and looking a pretty frail horse compared to her last preparation this time in. And strange that she got that backing. Even could have been started sort of $13 when it had very limited restricted form. So Ome Sword was the one that had trialled extremely well. It had looked like she'd come back a powerhouse filly, and really has done a great job at her first run back. A good ride from Renton Abdullah. Baccarella is the surprise packet. She's only had the one run previously, and she's come out and sat wide here and really toughed it out really well. There was a genuine tempo, so her jobs are really strong. Quick feet's run on quite well on Alluvian, and Tina are honest but well beaten. So Baccarella backing grade a little bit. Very dangerous horse, obviously an improving type, and Ome Sword could just about win anything for mine. We'll watch the replay obviously, because it's just an exciting horse to watch, especially her last 50 to 100 metres and then through the line is even more incredible. Getting through all the Calliope issues here. Alright, so we're nearly ready to go. And Ome Sword settles back. Baccarella doesn't find a spot. So this is why her effort's so strong. And Ome Sword's already coming to get into a position. I don't think she's anywhere near as one-dimensional as she looked at first preparation. I think if she draws a gate over a bit more ground, she'll be able to hold a decent spot. But it may not matter for the pure. I know she's next to Manea here, who's not a big horse anyway, but anything around her you'll see how she just hulks over them, especially in the fillies. She's just a big strong filly that's certainly going places. A great effort from Abdullah to make sure she's in a striking position here, off the rails, and can push into the clear whenever she feels like she wants to, and she was always in control of the event from here in. She still travels on the bit here. Baccarella's sprinted quite well for mine, even though she's probably in the best going. She's had a tough run, and she's really sprinted clear of the rest of them. Quick Feet gets home late, every possible chance after being on the back of Ome's sword. So even though Abdullah's not punishing her anywhere near close to the line, you can see that she's still running away from them post after the post, under no pressure at all. She's only getting warmed up, and she's going to be a nightmare to beat in anything, whether it be the Golden Rose or the fillies races throughout the carnival. She was mine. I've said I'd be going looking for a Cox Plate, but that's obviously a long way off, and I doubt that they will take on Winx at this stage because she's the stablemate, and they probably can just pick off whatever races they choose 3-year-old wise and worry about any of these sort of races next year. Race 6, the 1200 metre Group 3, and they again went pretty steady, not slow, not fast. Bashka was the only disappointing runner really in the race. Boss Lane had a good run, but he just maybe not first up, and maybe 1200 didn't suit him. I thought they might go a little bit slower here, and his little turn of foot might come into play, but it was drawn out of him as they went a little bit quick. A little bit of a strange ride on Le Romain going back to the fence, but I still don't think he probably would have beaten the winner. The winner's gone really well. She's come back a better horse. Snowden's really improved her, and she's going to be tough to beat in anything she runs in. I like the run of Messine. It really hit the line nicely late, and I can be forgiving of Boss Lane knowing that it's not a first up horse as a rule, and probably back to 1100, 1000 metres is better for him on a fast pace. He really appreciates that short distance and a fast speed. It's his go. So having a look at the race, Bashka kind of got a fairly comfortable lead. The first 4 are set up here. As we come to the straight, no eyes to get off the fence, which was obviously not the place to be, which was kind of a strange decision for mine. From Christian Reith, it looks like he's got Tycoon Tara's measure, but McAvoy was just sort of kidding to her, and he gets the most out of it for a really quite a soft win. If we go back a little bit and just watch Messine here, coming with Mount Nebo. Obviously Mount Nebo's hard fit and are known as a sprinter off a fast pace, so it's not going to get much more distance, whereas Messine's definitely only winding up over this sort of 1200 metre trip. So for him to stick with these sprinters that are going well, and to really look like he's only just starting to go through his gears when he gets to the line, his effort's good, and he looks like he's in for a good preparation. Le Romain just blew out the last bit. He really got tired, as did Boss Lane. Generally for a pretty solid run for him. He's not known for fresh runs. So Tycoon Tara's going extra well. Le Romain forgivable for how he was ridden, plus the fitness factor. Messine the one that can run on. The rest okay, and I think Boss Lane can turn his form around back in trip. Not much to see here, apart from a very good mare. They absolutely crawl, play into the hands of Winx. She just gaps them. Her sectionals, as they've been well publicised, were incredible, and you won't see an easier win than this. Hartnell's definitely looks like he's come back in good shape. His last 100 metres is really encouraging. I'd be forgiving of Lucia Valentina. Never in the right spot. Sit and sprint doesn't suit her. Dry ground, just had a lot of things against her on this day. She battles on quite well. Nothing more could have been in the favour of Rebel Dane for how he would have ever finished closer to this race. So he's not the improver out of this. The rest of them are. If we just go back and watch this again, just when he squeezes her for the only time here, just the way she changes stride and lengthens. Just an incredible horse. And second and third are in for big springs too, I'd say. They've both come back well. Hartnell's always had a couple of tough preps his last few, but always shown that he's had huge ability. If he keeps running into Winx, he'll be in a lot of trouble, but if he dodges her, he could be definitely a Group 1 winner over this carnival. Second last race for the fillies and mares, and unfortunately one of the leaders came out frill seeking, and the speed dropped right out of it. They go slow. I think personally the race was won at the start when Abdullah from gate 2 Gets Pearls off, keeps Pearls off the fence and puts him into a striking position. He may have been a little bit wide, but as we saw, that wasn't a bad thing with the likes of Baccarella and that could do that and still run well. So for him to position there on a slow pace was a really, really solid idea. He kept himself in front of Dixie Blossom. If he had dropped back to the fence here and left Dixie Blossom in, the result's definitely different. Dixie Blossom definitely wins the race. His tactics did win the race, and there's not much between it and Pearls and Dixie Blossom. She's a classy filly on a day or mare now, Pearls, and she's shown that she's come back in good order. Dixie Blossom's, again, is another horse that looks like she's come back in order. Doesn't have the sharp turn of foot as Pearls, but she does have a good turn of foot and will appreciate a stronger or more genuine tempo. Heavens Above's come back well. This race again didn't suit her. A sit and sprint with 61 kilos. She was well ridden. The race was one for me here where Abdullah's got there really cheaply to the best part, and he's still got a lap full of horse. And the difference between these two fillies and the difference here is that little part there where Clark's got a little bit of a bump from Bowman, but at the same time Abdullah's pushed the button and out sprinted Dixie Blossoms, who tries her heart out, but unfortunately just didn't have that turn of foot to get there. El Lou again, another huge effort. She's flying, but she's hard fit and she's not getting any better than that. Heavens Above can improve. Back to a sort of a set weights race where the conditions suit her better than today. Dixie Blossoms is in for a big spring. I wonder if maybe an Epsom might be on the cards for her, or if not, she'll just go through the mares, grade races, and end up probably in a Maya Classic or something like that at the end of the spring. I think Pearls will struggle to get that sort of trip, but she'll be dangerous in anything up to 1400 metres and obviously come back well. She was apparently tuned up quite a bit for that race though, so not huge improvement to come, but definitely some natural improvement. Last race of the day, and definitely the race of the day figures wise. They've run some really, really quick time, got home fast even after going out fairly solid, and just a monstrous win from this horse, Southern Legend. He's just a very good horse. The heavily backed Haptic was second favourite, and he's the one that goes down in the photo. He had the kinder of runs probably, considering it was a 1,000 metre race, and his momentum was kept up the whole way, whereas Southern Legend, as we'll see, jumps clearly in front and then has to be restrained to find a position. If he had gone forward here over 1,000 metres, it would have been a monumental ask for him to maintain that effort. So he's perfectly ridden here for mine by Tim Clark. He drops back into a trailing position very similar to the same tactics that Feline shows, and a good ride from Kobe Jennings here on this filly or mare who's racing well and showing that 1,000 metres is definitely her pet trip. Haptic's up on the pace, and the other horse that runs exceptionally well is Rose the Man, and another horse that is suited over 1,000 metres, and thought his effort was great here. So coming to the turn, you've got Haptic in the front, Southern Legend, who's had to give up 5 or 6 lengths that he wouldn't have had to if he drew a gate or in this race. Rose the Man on his back, Feline's cutting through on the inside. They're your first 4 at the end of the race. And they all run very, very strong races. The other horse I do want to pinpoint a little bit is Grand Condor, who's just popped in behind here. He's been struggling for a little bit of form, but he ran really well here, and he could pick off an easier race over the carnival with the big horses chasing the black type. So Haptic's kicked away, run a really strong race, and Southern Legend's ripping home down the middle. You can see that Tommy Berry, who's on Rose the Man here, is on a horse that is a sit sprinter, so a horse that wants that genuine tempo, which they've got, and can get home very hard, has been out sprinted by Southern Legend, who is more known as an on-pacer with a good turn of foot. So this shows great adaptability for him going forward, and he's a dangerous horse in anything for mine. The other horse, Feline, who's perfectly ridden, comes through and runs well. Really, for me, the ones I want to follow is Southern Legend in a big way. He's going to tune up. Haptic, he's going to be harder to place than Southern Legend. Grand Condor back in grade, and Rose's Man back in grade 2. He's just ready to win straight away over this trip. Southern Legend probably peaks on his run here, as you'll see, but he still gets the job done. Just a really strong strong effort. You can see he just sort of knocks up there, but still keeps going. I'm not sure what their plans are, but I assume something like Concord Shorts is their plan, and 1100 metres looks ideal for this horse. He's the horse that can sit on the pace, lead if he has to, or come from behind if he has to, as he's shown today. So he's got the full range, and he's an exciting sprinter. So a good day. A lot of obvious horses here that everyone's going to find in Divine Prophet, Ome Sword. Go back through the races quickly. Not a lot in the first. The second, not a lot. The third, we've got those roughies to look at going forward in High Tech, Starbeard, Back to a Maiden, and Squid and Squiz. All can win soon. Divine Prophet's right on track for whatever their plans are this preparation. He's probably, going to be very potent to a mile and even further. Be interesting to see where he ends up. I know Darren has the Golden Rose on his agenda and possibly a Caulfield Guineas after that. He looks a nice type that can definitely measure up there. Ome Sword and Baccarella again obvious, but the two that look to go the best in this race, Ome Sword looks to be a genuine superstar. In the making at least. Tycoon Tara and Le Remain again, the obvious two. Messine probably not going to the same sort of races they will, and really hard to beat. Tycoon Tara, if she drops her fillies and mares grade, she'll be a nightmare to get past. Winks is obvious, Hartnell's obvious, Lucia Vellatine all obvious, all got great form, but all ran really well here. Winks dominant, but may not clash with these horses going forward as everyone tries to dodge her. The top two and Heavens Above, the three for this race for me to follow, and Southern Legend, the clear horse to follow. Going up in grade, Haptic in a similar event will run well. Felines again, maybe back to mare's grade in a sprint race, hard to beat. And Rose the Man, same thing, but definitely 1,000 metres is the key to it. So there you go, guys. Unfortunately, nothing too out of the ordinary that I could find for you there, but there were a few maybe that will be missed, say in the highway, and hopefully there's something there for everyone. Cheers, guys, and group racing again next week. Looking forward to it. The runs of Impending and Astern, very interesting for me from the Godolphin Yard first up on Saturday. I'll be probably against Eldivino. I'm not as taken by it as others, but keen to see Impending and Astern go around as they've got some big raps to live up to this preparation, and from their trials they look like they might do it. Thanks, guys.